Hey,
Yeah,
hey, hey, hey.
I'm so excited to have you. Um, Elias, Eli, depends on what part of the world that you're in.
That's exactly
Uh,
right.
uh,
I'm a man of
Elias,
many names and I
you
wear
are
many
a man
hats.
of many names. I love that about you. I love so many things about you. We've been friends for a long time. I'm going to get right into it and sort of
Yeah.
introduce our audience to you. Because one of the coolest things that I think about you is that you're a what degree black belt in Kung Fu?
Four, four,
You're
four, four,
a
four.
fourth degree
You keep
black
calling
belt.
me a sixth, seventh, eighth, and I'll take it. I'll take
I
it.
will. I
And
think
it
I
might
gave you.
come in handy when we go back to Colombia.
I'm just saying it might. I'm excited because, but it's not just any type of kung fu. If I'm not mistaken, it's like a practical type. Can you just tell us
Yeah.
what that entails?
Absolutely. So, on many occasions, me and Nick, we've been friends for a long time, and we've been to a couple different countries together. And more recently, we're in Colombia. And I was like, Nick, if something goes down, don't worry. I could do this, this, and this. And I was describing some possible scenarios.
Graphically describing.
Graphic,
Graphic.
yeah, yeah. So I was like, the stuff that I know it works. It's street applicable. It's not like a competition style, so we're gonna be okay. And then, yeah, I was gonna stop there.
Yeah, let's stop there. We won't talk about the ripping out of people's eyeballs. Hey, but it's interesting that dedication of Kung Fu. You've been doing it for how long?
Dude, I didn't realize this until we were talking earlier today that this April this month marks 23 years.
Yeah.
23 years, man. I'm telling you, if anyone's doing anything for 23 years,
And it is a martial art. And I've dabbled in martial arts in my life, and I understand the dedication to self and to growth and to that takes, especially being a part of it for so long. Elias, so one of the reasons, the main reasons why I wanted you on this was because the last time we spoke, we spoke about just being better humans and what
yeah,
that entails.
yeah.
And I'm not saying that kung fu and being a better human go hand in hand, but you also over a decade in leadership coaching. And so I think you're really on the front end of what it means to be a better human. But I guess I wanted to ask you, what does it mean to be a better human? Talk about your journey a little bit.
Yeah,
That's
yeah, that's such a big question, and I hope
Mhm.
today that the little small time we have, we can kind of unpack a little bit of it. But what I will say this is that no matter what, we all have the opportunity to be better, right? And better human. That's just meaning how I see it as being better, being the best version of ourselves, whatever that looks like, and whether you're the best version in your career, the best version in your relationship, right? No matter where you go, you showing up as your best self and you giving your best self. And so part of the conversation we were having is I'm in this season right now of life where I am working on some areas in my life that felt out of alignment. And oftentimes when we get going and going and going, sometimes we can get out of alignment. And it wasn't until a couple incidents have came up and it really caused me to stop and reevaluate some things. And so to answer your question, to be a better person, a better human, it's just making sure you're in alignment with whatever it is you're going after and whatever it is you're doing. And so the conversation we had was how I'm getting in a better alignment for myself.
Well, and what's so interesting are the relationships that we keep being such a big part of us being in alignment, being such a big part of our growth and our successes and failures. Have you seen in your job as a leadership coach and one, I guess your main job is just life itself. Are you seeing, let's talk about some of the relationship you've kept that either been a wing or a weight.
Yeah, you know what? Because of my work, going after new business, right? A new book of business. I am constantly meeting people. Like that's my life, networking, meeting new connections. So that's kind of who I am. And I wanted to really talk about the other side of that because I don't think we talk about that enough. And there's a lot of people in my community who are those type of people who are going to go out there, meet people, continue to meet people because either they're following them into a business or building connections and relationships, right? Because no matter what we do, it is building those relationships. And so, but the other side of that is when we open ourselves up to meeting more people, you also open yourself up to getting hurt more. And that's the piece that I want to talk about, because I feel like I said, this is a season where I'm realigning myself because I'm going through some things like that. And when we are intentional about developing our relationships and our network, right? I've been fortunate to travel all over the world, and I have friends and connections and network all over the world. And what I'm most proud of is not the width of, not the distance, not the people that I know, but the depth in which I know these people. And that's powerful because the depth doesn't happen by accident. Like, that happens with intention, and that takes time, that takes trust, that there's a lot of things that happen to build the depth of relationship. And that's what I feel like I'm most proud of. But in that, what happens when someone walks away? What happens when someone, all of a sudden, they're just not there anymore, or they're not connected with you anymore? You've done so much to build that, and then all of a sudden, boom, it's gone. And then what, right? And so I would like to dive into a little bit of that, because that's kind of where I am realigning myself right now.
But it's so funny but that opens you up to so much vulnerability. And it opens you up, and especially as leaders, we want to not be vulnerable. So, I mean, I think some of the reasons why you and I are such good friends is because we've opened up to that vulnerability and, and gone there in depth. But how do you get there in depth, especially as an older, and as an adult? It's so easy to create those relationships in college or even in the workspace. But as entrepreneurs or outside of the workspace, how do you do that? How do you build that depth?
Yeah. Well, it starts with a decision to do it, right? Because you have to have intentionality in it. And I don't think you become really good friends with someone without the intention to become good friends with them. It doesn't happen by accident. I once heard it said like this, like, you can't have a whole bunch of best friends, because real friendship means being available. And although I know there are relationships in my life that I could pick up with someone who I haven't talked to in 5 years, and we would just catch up and where we left off at. And although that's true, but they don't know exactly what's going on in the day-to-day of my life right now. So there's not that connection with them. So being intentional, making the decision to develop these relationships with people, I think it means spending more time with them, because isn't it true, when we spend more time with someone, even in the silence of that time spending, something will come up, conversation will come up, words will come up, but it's not able to happen if there's not enough time spent with them. So I feel like for me, the more time I spend with someone, the more you get to bond and connect. And the other side of that is this: most leaders, entrepreneurs, business owners, I think that because they have a stature, right? Maybe someone puts them on a pedestal, maybe because they're the leader, they're the face of the organization. These are the people who really need the support as well. I feel like so many people see these people and be like, they got it all together. They're doing it, right? They're spearheading this thing. And I had a friend one time, he said, who motivates the motivator? And it's that idea of, even though you're out there in the community building business or whatnot, you still need to have that connection, that relationship, that support system, because oftentimes when we're out there doing the work, we don't have that.
Yeah, absolutely. When you carry the weight of the world, and trying to alleviate the weight of others, it can be exhausting. And we've worked a lot as far as leadership coaching, and I know that's what do you do? How does your work help in that area?
Yeah, I think you brought a good point. Is the people who have the people whose work and whose job is to support and help others, right? That's a high calling, right? That is a choice that you made to go and support. And when you're in that, right, that's where it kind of gets a little rough, because your job is to help. And oftentimes, if you're doing that kind of work, your tendency is to help, right? And oftentimes in the help, we neglect ourselves. We get lost in, I'm going to do for this person, I'm going to do for that person. And that's where we get lost. And for me, I remember I'm a recovering people pleaser. I'm far from it, but earlier on, why didn't people like when people walked away? I found it very difficult to accept. What did I do wrong? I looked inward, but I remember this analogy that I learned one time in my early 20s, and it served me well over the years as someone who continues to develop relationships, develop network. And it's 100% broken in 25, 25, 25, 25. And it's simply this: 25% of the people you meet will like you and cannot not be convinced otherwise, right? Mm-hmm. The other 25% is they like you, but they could be convinced not to like you. Mm-hmm. And then there's 25% who don't like you and could be convinced to like you. And the last bucket of 25%, they won't like you, they never will like you, and that's that. Mm-hmm. And when I learned that, it really helped me put a frame around, okay, if I'm meeting someone, I'm connected with them, and then they walk away, maybe that's the person who belongs in this 25% who doesn't like me, and I'm okay with that. Mm-hmm. And so that framework really helped me a lot, because I wanted everyone to like me. You know, mm-hmm. who wants to be disliked, mm-hmm. right? And so that kind of helped me through that process. So now I'm in a place where I'm actively building connection, building network, because that's what I do. But now I know I can move people into different buckets, and I'm okay with, if we're here for a season and a reason, mm-hmm. let it be, and then let them go, disconnect, whatever may happen.
And how do you identify those people? How do you really do a self-evaluation of your life and your relationships and identify that to say what, how to put, where to put them in,
Yeah, that's a good question, because of, I think me and you are the same, we just build network. I am really interested in the people who I spend the most time with, right? The people who are around me the most. I have friends in other countries who I haven't seen in a long time, and I always, or even other states, right? Cities, neighborhoods, and I always try to touch them and say something, and send them a meme, send them a joke, because I think about them, and it's just, it's just being in their inbox, right? It's just, hey, I'm still here, and it's just, I'm thinking of you, because I am, because if I saw something and I thought about them, oftentimes we think about people and we don't reach out. And so I don't want that to happen, because I want to build the network, right? And so I'll constantly touch people every now and then. But the people who I spend the most time with, people who are in close proximity, those are the ones who we have to really evaluate, right? Who gets what time and who gets less time or more time. And I think my evaluation is not on the whole picture. It's really on that section of who is occupying most of my time.
So funny. I mean, we all know we're the sum of the five parts, or the five people that we hang out with most, right? And then we continue hanging out with bozos. And I think, I was guilty of that for a long time. But I know the one thing that caught me the last time we spoke was your growth through mentorship. And I know you're a mentor to a lot of people and a coach to a lot of people. Well, and relationships, as we look around our relationships, sometimes coaches are a big part of that. Those relationships, our mentors are a big part of that. Can you speak on you and maybe how coaches or mentors have helped you elevate your game, your business, your life?
Yeah, I think anyone who listens to this would say there's someone in their life who has helped them at one point, right? Mm-hmm. Someone at some point in their life has reached back and pulled you up. And that's a power of mentorship, right? And so I've definitely had that in many different ways. And so for me, it's just feeling of returning the favor and doing that for the next person. And that's been invaluable, because mentors have more experience, and they allow you to, to pick you up and open doors that you might not have been able to open otherwise. And then coaches, right, which is very different. And like I was sharing with you not too long ago, is I have two coaches right now, and I've been working with these coaches for 6-7 months now, and we've been working on some business ideas, very typical, easy things. And it wasn't until a couple weeks ago that I was dealing with some internal stuff, because there was a lot of stuff that came forward, and having these coaches at that time to have these conversations with, and all they really did was hold the space for me to process and think through some things. And I was so grateful to have the opportunity to have someone who's unbiased listen in and kind of coach and guide me to a solution. And so having having people to hold that space for you, who has no, they don't have no incline if you say this or say that. They're just neutral and no judgment. That's a powerful thing to have.
And you said the difference between a coach and a mentor?
Yeah, so a mentor, yeah, the mentors have been the people who have shared their experience with me, right? When you're mentoring someone, you're sharing from your experience. But when you're coaching someone, you're not sharing from your experience. You are holding a container, you're asking questions, you're listening, you're looking for patterns, and you're really bringing out what's already inside the coachee. So the client, whatever cut is coming forward.
And how many years have you been doing the leadership coach? Man, how long have you been
Yeah,
doing this now?
yeah. So I've been teaching people since my teenagers through martial arts, and that's kind of where that passion started, of helping, teaching, guiding people, and so I got that at an early age, and then it wasn't until later that I had mentors that said, hey, you could actually get paid for doing X, Y, and Z, and I didn't have any idea, and so I started speaking into the youth market, and then eventually kind of elevated. But I've been with Maxwell Leadership for over 10 years, and that's been a take those principles and share them. And so I just, this last year, I joined a coaching program just to deepen that level of coaching.
And so I know your Kung Fu is sort of what you've been doing now for 23 years, leadership now for a little bit less than that, significantly less than that. Have you seen, as you're doing this leadership, as you're working with people, that the consistency or the discipline of your martial arts helps you like see people better?
Yeah, absolutely. Although they are separate, they're kind of the same, right?
Yeah,
So
that's what I mean.
the leading experience, it started through the martial arts, and yeah, absolutely. My experience in working with people from diverse backgrounds in this form, and it's their physical form, right? So being able to help them throw better kicks and punches, and then help them be accountable and motivate them and encourage them. These are all qualities that go into even a coaching or mentoring space. So if anything, it enhanced and it laid the foundation to the work that I do now.
That's it. Man, that's it. Is there a takeaway? Is there a takeaway that someone, I mean, if you've been in this leadership game for so long, and I know that you help people on so many different levels, from groups to corporates to, that someone can incorporate, whether it's leadership or if it's just even self-help, that you've seen across different sectors, across different disciplines, that help individuals take it to the next level, get better?
Yeah, there's a whole lot of things, right? And yeah, one of the things I will say before I get into that is there's so many things now online, and there's so much noise online, and I have friends who send me a lot of different things because I like watching motivational videos, and they send me all kinds of things, but I don't want to listen to too many voices. I want to be tuned into just a couple of people that I listen to, and that's it. And I don't care, because if you listen to one person, they have one idea, one perspective, and then you go someone else, they're contradicting that perspective, that idea, and people can get lost and confused because there's so much stuff. So what I have done is I kind of zeroed in on a handful of people that I'm listening to, and that's it. And so I would say that you will continually to listen to good stuff, listen to good people, good audiobooks, having a conversation like this, all these things that you put in.
But not too many. Go deep, not wide.
That's my thing. Absolutely. Yeah. So
Now,
continue to learn, right? Be a continual learner.
Flipping it to a little bit to the create purpose theme. I know you've been, since the beginning, teaching children, in whether it was Kung Fu, and you said you brought it over to leadership a little too. How long, have you been working with children? Why the affinity for children? Like, how is that different than working with adults? Can you touch on that a little bit? Do you still?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I'm currently right now not doing much work with children in terms of teaching, right? So I have taught children for a lot of years, and actually that's what we do to all the new instructors: put them to the kids, because the kids, they just want to have fun. So you don't even know, you just have to know how to kick. You don't really have to know that much. Just go to the kids and practice on your big voice, right? Using your voice, practice on standing up tall, and practice all those things, because the kids won't even remember if you messed up. They don't even know if you messed up. So all new instructors go teach the kids, and so I have a lot of experience in teaching the kids program. But there is a lot to learn in that, right? If you could teach a kid, it is so much easier to teach an adult, most of the time, right? So you have to keep the attention span through martial arts, right? You have to keep them moving. You have to change there's so much you have to do, but that really is a foundation, because you have to make things bigger. You have to make things more fun, all those cool things. And then when you kind of get doing that, it becomes part of who you are. And then you go and work with an adult, you can tone it down a bit, because you don't need all that energy. You don't, it still needs to be fun, but there's a lot of differences in the two. So I have worked with kids a lot through martial arts, and then it's they're fun. They require a lot of energy, but right now my work is pulling me in a different direction.
I know you've just started or are restarting women's self-defense classes.
Yes. So thank you for that. So,
yeah.
I think this was 2 years ago. Me and Nick were in Mexico. It was my birthday in Sayulita. We were there for 2-3 weeks. And I told Nick, I was like, I want to do this women's self-defense class. And we started, going through some talks around it. And then Nick said, I know some people, I know some ways, let's do it. And so he pushed me to do this women's self-defense class. It's very spontaneous, and we ended up doing it on a rooftop overlooking the ocean in Mexico. Nick was brave enough to hold some pillows. So, I was hitting him with and he had these pink pillows. There's a video somewhere on my page. Yeah, I was holding back, Nick.
Yeah, you do.
I wasn't going to make sure you flew off the roof. But that was the start of it. That was I had this idea. He's like, let's do it, which was great, right? Because we executed on it. We did it. We filmed it. We got some testimonials. And then now for a year, I've been doing, me and one of my partners, these monthly women's self-defense classes here in Sacramento.
And is that part, do you leverage the women's self-defense classes? I know you've done networking events. Is your passion leadership? Is your passion, what is your passion to do? What's your passion to serve?
So my passion is the development of people, helping people to grow, to develop. And if you look at all that I do, it's in that lane. My martial arts, I'm helping people grow and develop, get new ranks, get new belts. In my coaching and training, right, I'm helping people learn new skills, get sharper, develop, right. In the women's self-defense, we're empowering women, building confidence, So everything that I do touches the development of people. That's what I love, to come alongside someone in a process and a journey and see the growth.
And is it all leadership, or is a lot of it self-development, or does leadership have to touch all of those?
Yeah, I think leadership is the core of it, but there's so much more that happens, right? Leadership skills get built, but with the women, I'm focusing on confidence, right? How to make them feel more confident and more empowered when they leave the lesson. With an exec or CEO or someone who runs a business, we're helping them feel empowered and confident in the next decisions and choices that they're making, right? Whether on their sounding board or their encouragement, their kick in the backside, whatever that is. With children, right, you want to have fun, but you're just working on motor skills, hand-eye coordination, balance. So all those are skills that encompass developing the person. So leadership, I think, is at the core, but the development of them, people moving forward, is what is exciting. But the other side of that is when we are engaged in this type of work, so often we can get lost in it and not take care of ourselves. And this is kind of how we started our conversation, right? Is I'm in this realignment, trying to realign some behaviors and things. So I am not giving more than I'm putting in.
The development of people getting better. I am going to plug our coloring book, our new Create Purpose coloring book that we're launching, that specifically dives into that. Yes, every book purchased is you're also purchasing an hour of create purpose instruction for orphan children, but also through that book you're learning meditate. There's meditation exercises, there's gratitude exercises, there's breathing exercises, there's self-empowerment exercises, because I mean we are looking for a better world. For us, that means orphan children, but that starts with us. You know, it starts with the man in the mirror. It starts with, I had a TED Talk, which this coloring book is sort of based around, the butterfly effect. It's little changes in me that affect little changes in the community that affect huge changes across the world. Absolutely. And I think you are a perfect example of that, Elias, the love that you put in the world, the service that you have. I appreciate you, man, for this friendship, bro.
Yeah, thank you, Nick. And I think that's why we are so friends. We are in our part of the world trying to make a difference, and those are my favorite people. Is people who are looking to make a difference in the lives of others, whether that's with their time, treasure, or talent. And it's a big deal. And if we can just make a small impact, how much of a difference can that make, right?
Well, do you want to leave us with some wisdom in your, whether it's fifth degree black belt kung fu wisdom, leadership, John Maxwell, Elias Lopez, traveling wisdom? You have so much wisdom in your young life. I want to know if you want to leave us with some.
No, I'm just I'm very thankful for the friendships and people that I have in my life, and I think that we need to engage in more meaningful relationships with those couple of people who make the difference for us. And you, Nick, are one of those people. We've got to travel together. We've got to have some really deep, powerful conversations, and conversations that challenge both of us. And that's powerful. And so that's what I appreciate. And I would wish that for anyone, right? Is oftentimes we could get so isolated, and making time for the connections, whether that's family, close friends, or whatever it is, that is important. I mean, at the end of the day, that's important.
Difficult conversations, get out of your comfort zone, reach out to your neighbor, love the world. There's a lot of just core values and premises that we can lead from. Thank you for being an example of that.
Yeah, thank you, Nick. Thank you. I appreciate this time together, and I look forward to maybe our next trip.
Our next trip, Ken. I'll see you in Medellin. Talk to you, brother.
All right, bro. Peace.